good, everybody, and welcome back to another great episode of Jump Off the Porch, man. It's the one and only guy, Ruck Double Live, coming to you live. We got a special guest in the building today, man. Two-time NBA champion, real Raleigh native, and just an all-American type of guy, man. My guy, Mr. David West. What's going on, baby? We gonna fix that up a little bit. We good.
Yeah.
How you been, though, man?
I'm good. I can't complain, man. Life is good.
You living the retired life now. You know what I'm saying? You on the different side of the court.
Yeah.
What's that been like just watching the game now?
It's been an adjustment. I was ready to retire. Like, I was different from a lot of guys, man. I just got to the point where I was ready to walk away, and I never wanted to walk away beat up. So I'm happy that I was able to walk away healthy, my mind and everything intact, having taken care of my business. So I could just sort of transition into other parts of my life.
Yeah, you was more so relaxing in your later years anyway, more so playing that veteran role.
Yeah.
Really taking under guys like Draymond Green and, like Paul George when you was with him, just like doing that type of style. How long have you've always been type of a mentor type anyway, even with Garner Road. When did you take on that type of mental aspect and just say, I'm a veteran now and I'm going to just lead?
It happens naturally in the league. When you first go in, you're like a rookie your first couple years. But then once you get experience, year 3, year 4, year 5, now you got legitimate space between you and younger guys.
Right.
And you can offer them perspective, offer them advice, give them a chance, to learn things that maybe you didn't.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the main thing when it comes to, sort of being a mentor or a veteran, is you naturally get along in your career in the league. It's just a role that you fall into. For me, though, I was in a situation where I just learned from like really, really tough veteran team as a rookie.
Right.
So that's how I learned how to do it. You know what I mean? Like, that's how I learned how to prepare. I learned how to get after it and be a pro. And it worked for me. And so I just, as I moved around from team to team, really with Indy, most impactfully, I was able to just, sort of impose myself on the locker room.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, big dog in the locker room.
And just give guys direction, and help us, just have sort of an everyday work attitude.
Right. Take
what we're doing, serious.
Yeah, you always had really that OG role, that uncle role, I'm saying, Uncle West, to where it's like even the guys where people think was untamable, like Draymond Green.
Right.
I seen in like a couple games he would get out of hand and you would, pat him on the chest like, yo, come on, we need you.
Right.
Just talk about that, the misconception of him and how you were able to handle him.
Yeah. I wouldn't say I was handling anybody. Like, it's like, you know what I'm saying? It's like, when you see, like, I'm not afraid to interject, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Jump in the middle of something. Especially when I feel like I can, by me getting in the middle of it, I can create a more positive outcome.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because ultimately it's all about peace, right? So that's a big role in that. Like, just when I got with Draymond those couple years, there were things that I saw, that he could get better at. I tried to talk to him and help him work through those. One of them was, just containing himself, controlling his emotions, and being able to get to that line, but not cross it, in a way that would be detrimental to the team. And
play with that line a lot yourself, too.
Yeah, but that's a part of the game.
Yeah,
when I was playing, and a lot of people don't understand where that came from, but I never was a super gifted athlete.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to play on the line, play on that edge, just to get an advantage.
Nicknamed you the enforcer.
Nah, I wasn't no enforcer.
Yeah,
that was I never played like that, right? Because I scored. I tried to, particularly New Orleans, I tried to fill the stat sheet.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, and we're in the midst of trying to turn that franchise around. So, I never took on like the enforcer role. Because like, you think of an enforcer, you think of people that don't score, guys just out there giving fouls.
Yeah, nah.
That was never my role. So, but again, it's just about when you're playing, Particularly if you're not the biggest, strongest, fastest guy. Like if you don't have some of these natural gifts that some of these guys have,
Right.
you got to figure out a way where you can get an advantage. And I would always test your toughness. That was I just would always see how, like, the guy who I'm playing against, just let me see how tough you are. Like, whether or not, if I shot you an elbow, you shoot me one back. If you didn't, then I know I got you. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's
that's kind of the era you kind of played in, though. You was playing against the real power forwards like Tim Duncan and KG, them guys that really, you know what I'm saying, go to battle.
Yeah.
So that kind of molded you in a way too, you think?
Yeah, oh yeah. I mean, I grew up in the 90s, and so by the time I got to the league, I was playing against a lot of the guys that I grew up idolizing.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, I was a Tim Duncan fan. I was a KG fan. Year by year, like I was a Rasheed Wallace fan. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Antoine Jameson fan, who was at Carolina. And then you end up getting in the league, and you like, I gotta play against this guy. For a lot of guys, like I was one of the guys that it wasn't written in stone for me. Like, a lot of cats, like LeBron, Carmelo, those guys, it was written in stone for them. Like you could tell, right? You could tell they was gonna make it. So that wasn't my case. So every step for me, I'm like, I'm getting closer, but I didn't really believe it. You know what I'm saying? And then it wasn't until I was like deep into college, like my junior year, my senior year, that I really started to have like that belief that I was gonna actually make it. Right. Because you don't. It's a process you got to go through of like not setting yourself up for failure, not setting your goals, your expectations for yourself too high, right? So that you get distracted from what's right in front of you.
Yeah, realistic.
Yeah, so I was able to do that and really focus in on where I was in college,
mm-hmm.
And that helped further that belief. So then when I got there. It took some time, even while I was in the league, to adjust, because again, I'm like, okay, in my mind for a second, it's like, well, damn, you made it, and that's good enough, man. Because where you came from 4 or 5 years ago, this wasn't expected. Right. So, but then you get in there, and then I think like my second year, I was ready to go, but then I got hurt. But then I sat and watched, like, and I was like, nah, you can really have an impact on this league. Just get yourself together. So I was able to get my legs up under me, gain some size. Right. I worked on my game over the summer. I added the jumper and took off from there. Yeah.
But talking about going imposing your will in college and just things of that nature, a lot of people don't even know that you were in possibly the best draft class ever. Oh yeah, the 03 draft class with LeBron, with Carmelo, CP3, D Wade. Like
CP wasn't in it. It was Bosh. Bosh
was in it. Yeah. But just that, man. Yeah. Talk about that experience and just what you got from that. Did you expect those guys to be what they are?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like LeBron was a no-brainer.
Right.
Like if you ever saw him, I saw him when he was a freshman in high school. I was a freshman in college. It was the end of my freshman year in college, end of his freshman high school. You could see it then. Like, he was super talented, big already. Just had a different type of athleticism and speed. And then the rest of that class, I don't know. I think everybody was just really good where they were, mm-hmm. and developed, right? Because like Nick Collison and Kurt Heinrich were in that class. And Chris Bosh was in that class. D Wade in that class. And even like Jarvis Hayes, who got drafted, he got drafted to Washington, I think. But like, mm-hmm. this guy was one of the most prolific. Like he's the one that like really established the Atlanta Celtics. And like they won like 4 years straight of AAU basketball with no losses. Okay. You know what I mean? So you had like just prolific players.
Nice, though,
Kyle Korver was like 40 something in that draft. It was just a lot of talent, a lot of deep talent in that class.
Now it's like all those guys is old now. All those guys is getting well, including you too.
Yeah, yeah.
That's crazy.
Man.
I was in third grade when y'all was I was in That's crazy.
Yeah. But it was, I mean, like I said, man, it was that time with basketball was just like you knew it. Like when we got together, we had different events like throughout that journey, right? So at the end of like my freshman year, a lot of guys are counselors at the 5-star camp in Pittsburgh. Into my sophomore year, we're all at the Team USA facility in Colorado. Into my junior, into my senior year, or into my junior year, we're all counselors at the Adidas camp, at the Nike camp. You know what I'm saying? At Jordan's camp, playing against each other, competing against each other. So we saw each other step by step by step by step. Josh Howard was in that draft. He and I were AAU teammates. When we played for a team in Durham.
Yeah, shout out Josh Howard. He had Winston-Salem.
When we were here in North Carolina competing, and then we ended up playing on the AAU team together, and then going to Hargrave together. And he and I both, like, damn, when we in the league, we would talk about it. When he was with the Mavs, like, man, we really got here. Like,
right.
You know what I mean? Like,
that's crazy. Yeah. I was together in it.
Yeah. So, you just remember that stuff. I just think we all were challenging each other, pushing each other, even if we weren't directly competing against each other during the seasons or whatever. We were always, aiming and targeting each other, I think, in terms of looking where you could get better at. You know what I mean? So it was a special thing. The guys, like I said, I think the 03 draft, at one point, man, we might have had a starter on every team, like right in the mid 2000s.
You probably right
I'm
about
telling
that
you,
too.
we was close. I think there was a starter from our draft because Keith Bogans, like Mo Williams, Kyle Korver, you just had like a whole, Heinrich, TJ Ford.
Yeah.
You just had Marquise Daniels and Josh Howard. They was both starting for Dallas. And they was there so we had starter on just about every team. So that's something. That's something else that just sort of signals how strong that crew was.
Class was crazy. And just going on to playing for the Hornets, talk about that NC duo you got with Chris Paul.
Yeah.
The way how that just worked out.
Yeah, man. CP and I had connection through Coach Prosser. So Coach Prosser coached me for 2 years at Xavier. And then he took the job down at Wake, and then subsequently he recruited CP, and CP played down there with him for a year or two. I forgot how long Chris was in school. But, so we were connected via Coach Prosser. That was a connection. Just I knew kind of who he was and what he was about because Coach, literally called me and told me. Coach told him about me.
Word.
We had communicated before. So when he came to the team, it was really just about both of us really getting adjusted to the new roles of, being in the leadership position for the team and being responsible for the outcomes of the game.
Everything on y'all shoulders.
Yeah. So we went through that process together, and it's just you go through that one time when you're in the NBA, and he was the guy that I was able to go through that with. You learn a lot about yourself. You learn about the business that you're in.
Right.
I mean, you learn about the league and how things work. And you ultimately learn how to have success and how to deal with failure too. So
it'd be good to have somebody with you on that too, though.
Yeah.
Like a lot of those guys, like you said, a lot of those guys came in by themselves.
Right.
So it's like they had to deal with that on their own. Especially the way we talked about the class was.
Right.
Those guys came in the stars.
Right.
So it's like they had to deal a lot of that on your own. You had that, that camaraderie with CP.
Yeah.
That's what's up.
Right.
Talk about how to because y'all was there. A lot of people don't even know that y'all had to play like 2 or 3 years in OKC.
Yeah.
Katrina. Just talk about that. How was that movement and thing? That crisis?
Katrina was it was like something that we had never seen.
Right.
So we knew we weren't going back. Katrina's actually the anniversary of my birthday. It was on my birthday, so I'll never forget it. But we knew we weren't going back. We just didn't know where. So we probably had a month where we were just in limbo. We couldn't go back to New Orleans. We went to Baton Rouge to do some, some work and to help in the community, be a presence in the community. We went back to Baton Rouge as soon as we could, but we couldn't go physically into New Orleans for quite some time. So whatever you had there was there.
Probably gone.
And they basically told us, we're going to go to Oklahoma. I think Louisville and Norfolk were the other two cities that they were contemplating. But OKC we went because they had an arena already. They had a already built arena that the community had built because it's one of the craziest basketball places in the
It's like
country.
They figured that out through y'all,
sick.
though.
Yeah, it's sick.
Yeah.
People there are just, crazy about basketball from little, itty bitty kids on up. So when we got there, we didn't know what to expect. Mm-hmm. When we saw the arena, we started to have an inclination, like, yo, they got an arena here already. And then, we had like our first scrimmage that was kind of not televised, but was open
like
to the public.
Type? Yeah.
And they almost packed the arena.
That's crazy.
You know what I'm saying? It was like, and it was just us, teal versus gold or whatever we were.
Okay.
And
y'all
they showed up. Yeah, they showed up with so many people there. So we were like, man. And then that first year we were there, because we were there for 2 seasons. We were one of the top teams in attendance because they were so crazy. So that was the marker that an NBA team could be supported in that community. We played games there and games in New Orleans, both years. So we played 6 games, I think, the first year in New Orleans, and then the rest of them in OKC. And then the following year, we might have played 12 or 14 games in New Orleans, and the rest in OKC. And then that following third year, we went back to New Orleans full time. But that was a learning experience, just dealing with, unbelievable human catastrophe in the sense of, people's lives were turned upside down.
Right.
And, it was an eye-opening experience for me, a growing up moment for me, and a lot of the people in the franchise, just to see, sort of the callousness that exists out here. Yeah. Especially coming from the government and the services that are supposed to protect the citizens. So,
right.
That was an eye-opening thing, but we did what we were supposed to do, in terms of being active in the community,
right.
And trying to do things that had real impact. Like we tried to feed as many people as we possibly could through different programs and initiatives because making sure people are eating food is a big deal. When we visited a region one time down in Mississippi somewhere, and that was an eye-opening experience because that place was devastating. They weren't being talked about on the news, right? Like the more metropolitan area, like New Orleans, was being talked about, but a lot of the flooding and stuff that went into the Gulf in Mississippi was just as damaging, or if not more. Yeah. And you realize, again, where some folks are living in society and the impact, that sports can have in terms of reaching those people, right? Because in the midst of all of that, the little part that we did play was people had something to cheer for, something to root about,
something to uplift the spirit,
something to make them feel good, just about the city in general, and we were able to contribute to that environment.
So moving on from New Orleans, you find yourself with another great duo and a teammate in Paul George, and just seeing the emergence of him becoming that superstar, and y'all as a team holding y'all own, really, really almost taking the East until the Heat did some unfair thing. Talk about that. Talk about that experience playing them and just having that team that was that good.
Yeah. Well, the thing with Indy was I went there to be like a veteran presence, to add I wouldn't say expertise, but add
your knowledge.
Yeah, my knowledge and sort of Western Conference basketball, to sort of give that to the young guys, because we had a really, really young group. They had just made the playoffs with like a losing record, and they were really excited about that. But I'm like, nah, we could we set our expectations a little bit higher. Let's think about a legitimate playoff spot. You know what I mean? And compete throughout the year like a playoff team. And that was what my role was there. And Paul was there. He was a guy when I got there who didn't have a lot of confidence. Previous coaching staff or coach or whatever had really worn to his confidence a little bit. So Paul wasn't where he is now, obviously, but I was my job and some of the other guys there. Our job was to get him get him comfortable and get him to the point where he felt good about having the ball in his hands and being relied upon to do what he's supposed to do for the team. And it's hard for a young guy to carry that, but he had the ability and the talent to do it. So we just were there to support him while he grew, because the better he was, the better the team was.
Right, yeah, definitely. And then you go on to, a lot of people don't really give the Warriors that much credit as a program, but I feel like, me personally, it's like it definitely is an aura and a top to bottom like reconstruction that they did with the program to like get everybody's mind on the same track.
Right.
Talk about the differences between the Warriors and just playing with them versus the other teams you play with, and how like set they are to their ways.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the Warriors, they're once in a lifetime type talents. In the fact that they won when they were young. But people don't realize they got knocked out by the Spurs, I think 2 or 3 years in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Like Steph and them came in winning. Like when he was hurt, they weren't winning. But like when he came in the league, he was always kind of winning games, and then he had to get his ankle healthy. But that was the thing with me as a player in the league before I was with him, was there was always this respect about them. Like we knew that they had next at some point.
Right. Yeah.
Right. Like just by the way that they played. And then it was when they made the coaching change that I think, Mark Jackson did a good job with them, but sometimes it's hard to take a young team to a place and then continue with that team to get them over the hump. So if you think about what Doug Collins did with Michael Jordan, and then Phil Jackson came in and
elevated,
got him over the hump.
Yeah.
So, Mark did a great job with those guys, because he put the confidence in them. He was calling them the best shooters in the world.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Year 1 or 2, like he was gassing them, but he knew that's what they needed. And when Steve got the opportunity to organize them, I think he let them go in a way that he gave them a context. Let's play inside this box, but y'all can really let your talents and your abilities go in this box.
Inside of that. Okay.
Yeah. And Draymond, fit with what they were doing, with his ability to just play the game. You know what I mean? Like, be able to, see the game from a point guard position, see the game from a 2-guard position, see the game from the forward position, and then, understand what post is supposed to do. So his ability to see the game from those different perspectives, and then having a 6'7" body to be able to execute that stuff, is really, where his gift is. Because he knows the game and can see the game in a way.
Very cerebral.
Yeah, but he can see the game in a way that a lot of people just can't. And it's he's still able to have that impact, because a lot of guys like Dre, right? You'd be like, well, if he wasn't with this guy, if he wasn't with, but that's not the point. The point is he got to play where he is. Right. Yeah. And he has to do and make the best of where he is, and he's maximized moment there. You know what I'm saying? And you're dealing with all-time great talent, right? And Steph and Clay. These guys shoot the basketball better than anybody. Right. You know what I mean? Like straight up and down. Like there's no, like it's not even close. So you have that, and they've weaponized it, right? So Steph's changed the way people play defense. Teams don't defensively organized anymore. There's no real defensive scheme.
Yeah.
It's like we used to do back where you had to do something on the ball screen. The last resort was switching. Right. You had to do some sort of defensive action on the pin down. The last resort was switching. The Warriors forced all defenses to switch. Like the only way you can defend them is to switch. Yeah. You can't hedge, you can't show, you can't do any of that stuff. Yeah, because they're too dangerous, right? They weaponize their ability. So
that's crazy.
That's what they're all about. So in my time there, I was there to win. I wanted to feel that pressure, feel those moments of every single day, every single shoot around meant something because you're trying to, like, it's championship or bust.
That winning program mentality.
That pressure is different. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. The level of pressure that's on every single person in the locker room, every single employee in the organization, it's tight every single day. There's no room for slipping, no room for mistakes. Wow. You know what I mean? No room for late buses and late airplanes, none of that stuff.
Focus.
Because all of it is step by step by step, going to that final destination, which is the win. So it's a very, very, difficult thing. I'm glad I went through it. And I enjoyed the time, my whole time, because it just made me who I am. Right. And it gives me a perspective and insight that a lot of people just don't have, and I'm appreciative to have that perspective.
Being on all these great teams with all these great players, who is your best player you played with? Would say.
All right, so I would say, like, the way I would do it is the guy who I would say has been the most unguardable, and the most unguardable guy, has been Steph. Right? It's like just
not different.
Yeah, and didn't see many guys really shut him down. What I saw was some nights his legs weren't in it to make shots, but he always made other plays. So it was he would be the guy that I would say just had the biggest advantage that I saw while I was his teammate. Because CP had an advantage for a lot of years.
Yeah, his younger years.
PG had an advantage. My year with the Spurs, I watched Kawhi, and Kawhi had an advantage. Tim and Manu were past their moments, but watching Steph and even Clay at night, Clay's got an advantage at his position most nights, but the separation between when Steph is 100% and clicking on all cylinders, and literally whoever the next best point guard is, he's still, he's still beyond them, and he's the guy that I saw most consistently do things that you're like, nobody else can do that. So,
we watching too. We see it too.
Yeah, those are the things that from my perspective, separate guys. Because there are a lot of things that you say, well, yeah, he can do that. He may do it better than that person or that person, but they can do it.
Yeah.
There's stuff that Steph does that
nobody can.
That you just can't, and you can't even get a coach to give you the space to do that.
He really changing the game though. Like, he got kids shooting from wave. Like, he changed the game.
Yeah.
And it's crazy.
See,
it's not a catch and shoot no more. It's an off the dribble shoot.
Yeah. Yeah. And his ability to shoot is his biggest threat. And people, the analytics, these folks try to take credit, right? Like, look at Steph shooting threes. Steph doesn't shoot threes because the analytics tell him to shoot threes. He shoots threes because he shoots the basketball better than anybody.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like that, the way he lets it go.
He can get it out.
And the range that he has is sick. So, it's not an analytic game, because he's another dude that if you give him layups, if you give him elbow pull-ups, like we saw teams run him off the three, and he goes 11 for 14 from the elbow pull-ups that game. Like only makes 2 threes, 2 for 4 from the three, but he goes 11 for 14 from like mid-range pull-ups. You know what I mean? So it's like, all right, if you give him any part of the game, he's going to take it. The teams that say, make him finish at the rim, and he just keeps going.
He's sky
Right.
floated up.
He's doing what he got to do. So
That's crazy. Yeah.
he's the guy that that I would say I saw has the biggest advantage.
Switching gears though, man. A lot of guys don't really know about your work in the community, and really just the hands-on type of vibe you give younger players such as myself growing up in Garner Road. Like I would come to practice one day and I see David West in here. Like, what is this? Like, what? You know what I'm saying? Just talk about the mentality you have on community and just the organization of Garner Road and everything like that.
Yeah. Well, that started. Garner Road was actually around when I came in high school. I played for Garner Road when I was at Garner in high school. It wasn't a super big program, but when I was coming through my journey, I never really had access to like an NBA player. You know what I mean? Like even in college, I didn't have no NBA homeboy that I could reach out to.
Right.
I had a former alumni, like a guy who played at Xavier, James Posey. My last couple years, he and I got close because it was like inevitable that I was going to be in the league. So he was the guy that I would look get some advice from here to there. But I didn't have access to like an NBA guy, like somebody who was like actually doing it there. Yeah. And I saw that other guys did. So I was like, damn, you met him when? Like when I got to the league, he was like, yeah, yo, I knew him, and I'm like, where? Yeah, because my AAU coaches, and I was like, right. So then I started to think like, well, that's something that I can provide, to the guys back at home. My nephew at the time was young, so he was coming through, to play basketball. My brother was coaching, at Garner Road, and so it just was like a natural fit once I got into the league. When I was in college, my college coaches, they would pay. We could get paid working at summer camps during the summer. So I really developed like this passion for coaching when I was in college, and I realized like actually helping coaching kids was actually helping sharpen my own basketball mind.
Yeah, because you learning the game yourself.
So then it helped me like as a player. So it was also a way to just sort of hone some competitive juices. Like I'm just a naturally competitive dude, so we would literally have competitions about winning the summer camp championships and who won the most games, and we'd be serious about picking the kids out, and we'd be trying to show them plays. Right. You know what I'm saying? Like we made it a thing, and so that is really where a lot of the sort of connection with young people comes in, and then just realizing the type of impact that you could have in different aspects of young people's lives. Like it's a philosophy that I've learned, but it's simple in the fact that they say it's a wiser use of your tools to build young people than to repair broken men, right? So that is sort of a world philosophy that I sort of use to keep me grounded and focused. So if I got an opportunity to help a young person versus somebody who's had 2 or 3 or 4 opportunities already, I'm going to help the young person because, obviously the idea that the young people are going to be the next in line is something that we inevitably can't change. We all face that, right? The young become the old. It's just a natural course of life. So if I can do anything to help impact young people, I do it. And that, in my own personal sort of world, makes me feel better and gives me more fulfillment than, taking care of myself materialistically or, living a certain kind of lifestyle that I could live. But it's more important for me to have an impact. And, I don't do it so people can give me congratulations. Right. I don't do it so that people can, say, job well done or anything like that. It's just a sense of knowing that there was a chance for somebody anywhere, in any part of the world, in that young person's world, to impact them. And there was a moment where I could do it, and I just try to maximize that moment. And if it's just like keep your head up, young fella, or if it's something more involved, or it's somebody wanting to work in the gym, or somebody needing help, somebody just needing somebody to throw ideas off of,
right.
Whatever it is, I always try to make myself available, and I always want people to know, young people to know that the perspective that I'm giving, right, is something that I've sort of lived through. And I think you got to always remember your own worldly context, because we all live our own individual lives out here, but we're connected to people, connected to our families and extended families and friends and things like that. And it's always important that when you're teaching or educating or trying to connect and have an impact on someone, that they understand your context and understand your worldview, where you're coming from, so they understand, your vision, your view.
Right.
So it's clear.
Yeah. Speaking on perspective, I definitely want to, you say you don't want to do it for the credit, but I definitely want to give you your credit and your roses now, to the point where you changed my perspective as a youngin coming up. Garner Road, I would be at Garner Road over the summer, working out with G, working out with Chris, whoever's in there, and looking at NBA players and things like that. I would think, Star, you ain't trying to talk to no little kid.
Right.
It was one day I came in the gym. You don't remember. You probably don't remember this, but it was one day I came in the gym. You called me by my name. You said, "Jamie, you ready to work today?" Came up and you dapped me up. I was like, "Hold on, bro. You know me, bro?" I said, "Bro, hold on. Like, you know me?" It was surreal to me, and that was probably like, I got to work out in and everything like that. Went about my day, but that never left my mind to the point where I could talk to this guy. Like, he ain't no star, nothing like that. I mean, he a star, but he ain't out of reach. So I definitely want to say you appreciate that.
Oh, yeah, for sure, man. Absolutely.
But moving on, man, getting into the world of today, and things of that nature. I seen you went on and had your own little segment to where you just spilled how you felt about what was going on today.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about how you feel about what's going on really in the social justice and the president and all of that, things like that. What's your take on that?
Yeah, man. We're just living in a very unprecedented time, and we're in a moment where I think there's more anxiety about the legitimacy of a future. Like, we got so many issues that we're facing as a society, domestically in the U.S. and then globally, internationally, right? And so the international, fear is this real threat of global warming, right? Like, the planet, we're burning too many fossil fuels, and we're heating up parts of the planet that should not be hot,
right?
And it's causing places to melt and areas to flood. It's causing hotter temperatures. So all the science community is saying the planet is warming up, and we're not organized as a global community to fix it or to address it.
Not even organized as a country.
That's what I'm saying. Then if you focus on where we are as a country, we've got trouble in every hand, right? Mm-hmm. To use the old Southern adage, right? So we can't wake up without an issue, right? We've got sort of this presidential cycle that to me just seems to go by so fast.
Yeah.
It seems like we're electing a president every year. It just comes and goes so fast.
4 years already.
Yeah, it's like we have, our educational system, is not doing what it's supposed to do. Our healthcare system is not doing what it's supposed to do. Our political system, in terms of, the validity and the cleanliness of our elections and our politics, our media and the idea of journalism, all of these things, the health crisis that is in, Black and brown communities, the economic crisis that's in Black and brown communities, the overwhelming health disparities that Black women specifically face in the medical industry, home ownership, it seems like, there's no set place, right? In collegiate sports, we have exploitation. We have, child trafficking. We have all of these things that are just constantly going on, and ultimately, what we're being made to do is accept them. And this is where
social norm type,
right? This is where we I think we're at a point in history where you see massive protests, and regardless of what mainstream media is showing you, protests are continuing. Work is continuing. The intellectual work is continuing, meaning the work in the classroom, and people who are really trying to change and shift the outlook, of the country. We, black communities face, every issue that we face is in a more dire situation than any other group in this country, right? Fundamentally.
Right.
And we didn't even mention the prison industrial complex, which is, has a devastating impact on our community. But every situation that we deal with is at its worst, right? So even during this COVID thing, we're being disproportionately affected more than other folks. And every crisis that we can name disproportionately, negatively affects us more than just other people. And so when you're facing that kind of reality, people are, I think people are fed up, and people are at a point where they're no longer just willing to accept, the inexplicable cruelty that exists, right? This sort of this push toward normalizing these cruel outcomes. And like I saw the other day, there's a man that they rejected to overturn his sentence. He's serving life, I believe, for stealing a $25 pair of scissors for hedges. And he's in like some southern state. But because of the law and the way that the law is written, right?
Yeah.
This man, so we don't even have the ability to intervene in a human way.
Like common sense.
Right. So it's just so much that we're dealing with. And if I was young, again, my different eras, there are different different moments in those eras. Yeah. And for the young people now, I would be just as vocal and just as willing to fight, because now the veil is off. So even 10 years ago, 20 years ago, we went into we started a war that in my opinion, bled the country dry. Money that we should have been investing in schools and hospitals and roads, in education, business development for American industries, we wasted, in war. And it is those types of things that young people should be, vocal about and pushing against for the future, because, again, we want a society, right, that's at peace. You want a society that seeks justice, and you want a society that produces, equal outcomes for all of its citizens.
So, boom, being in your retirement phase, you in the OG phase, so where you giving mad advice to all the young kids. What's a big piece of advice you could give to young players now, or just young kids now in general, that's going through these times and having to deal with the different situations, different life situations now?
I would say first thing I would say is like evolve. Really work on being better day to day, like adding something to yourself every single day. Like, I'm serious, and I know it's hard for people to focus because you got Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, you got all that stuff in your phone. You have these, the pressure of social media, right? You wanting to get likes and be seen, and
right.
A certain image you want people seeing of you, which again is a part of society now. But I would say, in the midst of all that, like really be adding to yourself, like seriously. Like if you're into technology, and say if you're a videographer, right, learn all the different types of video systems and learn different. Like, don't just say, okay, I got this, I'm gonna start being that constant. So that, right, because you wanna be as valuable as you possibly can. Like, you wanna make yourself as valuable as you possibly can, because those are the people that people always want around.
Yeah.
Like when you can do things and you have a greater understanding of just one thing, right? Or you can do one thing really well, but you also, can help, evolve ideas in a whole bunch of different areas.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And you can only do that if you're day by day finding ways to better yourself and really invest in developing your mind. That would be the other thing. It's like, it's easy to just have things dictated to you now because there's so much for you to consume.
Right.
Really take the time to invest in your mind and the things that you learn. There's a quote that I really like that I heard about last year. I think the guy's name is Alvin Toffler, if I'm not mistaken. But it says the illiterate of the 21st century won't be people who can't read and write. It will be people who cannot unlearn and relearn. You know what I'm saying?
Unlearning the bad.
Yeah, and relearning good, right?
Yeah.
And that is a very powerful, I think that's what his name is, Alvin Toffler. But that's a very, very powerful statement because there's so many things that we've got to get out of our minds first before we realize, like, no, we have to relearn the truth about so many things and relearn how to communicate with people. Like, a lot of old heads get caught up in this, right? I ain't doing no social media, man.
Right.
You're a fool.
Yeah.
You're gonna be completely disconnected. Like, how could you not, right? How could you not be on social media in some capacity? You're gonna be completely disconnected from what's going on. You still waiting for newspaper?
Right.
Come on, bro. Like,
still selling CDs.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? So it's like you that's why I say, because it's not just for young people, it's for older people too. Like, you gotta constantly be in that learn mode. So, like, I got young kids, so I'm like, I gotta keep track of what they're doing, because I don't want them to ever come to me like, Daddy, what's this? And I'll be like,
right, you don't know.
Yeah, I don't want them to ever have some kind of, some advantage over me where I've got to go, hey, can you do this for me?
Right.
To my 11 or 12-year-old. Nah, you can't do that. So, that's my thing. It's just, I believe that people should always be looking to evolve, and the best way to do it is to really invest in what you're learning and expanding your horizons and your mind and making yourself more valuable by the things that you know.
That's what it is, man. That's crazy. I was going to ask you a quote, too, because I know you be having the quotes and everything like that. So I'm glad you brought it in with the quote, wrapped it up, man.
Right.
And definitely we want to tell the fans to invest, man. Invest in your mind, invest in yourself, and also invest into this podcast. We want y'all to like, comment, subscribe, man. Make sure y'all keeping up with us. We also want to thank our special guest again, Mr. David West.
Yes, sir.
You know what I'm saying? I appreciate you coming up here, man.
Yes,
I appreciate that. Dropping gems off and everything like that. That's how we gonna wrap it up, man. Once again, it's another great episode of Jump Off the Porch, and it's the host, the one and only guy, Ruck Double I, baby. Thank you again. We out.